a really snappy title, not. So the other alternative title for this was actually the human firewall. And we did a seminar, we did a webinar where this actually was the human firewall. I haven't got a, oh, is it here? Cool. Okay, bear with me a minute.
It's mine.
Okay, so my father is 80 next May, and he's not particularly tech savvy. But as long as I can remember, he used to come out with this phrase, what's the biggest problem in management? Anyone got any answers? Well, at the risk of avoiding another hashtag #MeToo moment, it's actually the first three letters, man. That isn't man, gender, that is human beings, as we all know. So once I got over the fact my father wasn't being sexist, what we find, we work with a range of different organisations and a range of industries, and consistently, as we all know, the biggest issue is actually the human element. I don't expect you to look at these numbers, and also they date back to 2017. But the stats in terms of human error and the impacts they have on institutions and the security is actually frightening, absolutely terrifying. Not least in that the notifiable data breach report. So this is when data is breached, particularly from a financial institution, and they have to notify all the industries. 33% in 2017 was related to human error. In 2019, that has apparently nearly doubled. That's down to humans not doing what they should do. And these human firewall incidents, these are specific examples. And unfortunately, this means that these are people who've made errors of judgment or just haven't done something with thinking it through. And it has an impact not only on the company, but it has an impact on themselves as well. So Royal Bank of Scotland, in 2014, the chairman, not only was he adept on Snapchat, very adept on Snapchat, which my father isn't, he actually sent selfies on Snapchat to his daughter, saying that the board meeting was boring. Not good. And that wasn't even data, okay? They're just saying it was a boring board meeting. He left the bank 3 weeks later. The one in the middle, actually, was the CFO of Francesca Holdings in 2015. And they were sacked for breaching disclosure rules because they said it was a good board meeting, happy board, happy numbers. That's essentially insider trading. So this has a real impact on corporations. So unlike various presentations today, I'm now talking about application of what we call game science, gamification within the corporate world, and the real impacts this can have. By the way, I should have congratulated you all on resisting the lure of plastic building bricks and going next door. So welcome, well done for staying here. So what happens in big corporate institutions? You get HR departments, you get lots of people who have this. They have lots of bright ideas. And every single person is trying to reinvent the wheel. They have a great idea. I know there's been a breach. We're going to instigate some training. We're going to instigate some e-learning. We'll make it interesting. We'll make it fun. I bet Juliet gets lots of these inquiries. And this is normally how people feel, okay? So HR or the security guys have told them we've got a new system. We're going to make you do some new awareness training. And in the world of corporate finance, in the world of banking, it is compulsory. We work in a range of sectors, including the online gambling world. And you have to do legislation training, money laundering or anti-money laundering training, data protection training. And the one at the top, particularly with compulsory mandatory training in terms of maintaining your own qualifications, in terms of maintaining the levels of security for the banks, it takes me forever to do it, and I only do it so it's out of the way. This isn't a talk, by the way, about e-learning. Quite the opposite. This is also something that we've had a VP and marketing director of a very large professional services organisation say to us, I don't really have to watch it, do I? I can just leave it running in the background, and then I do the ticks box. I suspect many in this room know all about that. However, what they're trying to do is increase engagement, increase awareness. But the big question is, does actually awareness actually relate to engagement? What does engagement mean? Well, engagement in this scenario should actually mean learning and really, really importantly, the implementation, the application of that knowledge. What does that mean? That means then that the bank, for example, has fewer data breaches. It means that actually your money is more secure. It means that our pension funds are more secure. It means that we're not going to be exposed to any Russian hackers, for example. So at the moment in the UK, you may or may not be aware, we've got an interesting political situation. We have a general election on Thursday. Apparently the Russians are running our election. Who knows? They're probably recording me. But actually, we should be implementing the knowledge we're learning. So, standard traditional issue. So where does 3 Radical come in? So we talk about revolutionising security awareness training. That's a very, very bold statement. But we looked at this. We have a platform, that lovely P word. We have a platform which is about engagement, okay? And we looked at these problems. People were coming to us and saying, we want you to do something for us. And we were like, okay. And these are problems that they were coming across. So training, as we said, is seen as a tick box exercise. Content's delivered in flat, boring way. And messaging. So Philip was talking about how you've got to consider your audience. Unfortunately, lots of organisations take a one-size-fits-all. So the cybersecurity training for the marketing department is exactly the same for the cybersecurity training for the retail banking department, for the private wealth department, and for the IT department. Just doesn't work. They don't take into account also the human perspective. So one of the things is I'm conscious that, you know, I've been doing it today. We've all got our phones permanently grafted to our hands. We've got laptops. We've got tablets. We're constantly being bombarded. And also, with that 24/7 always-on culture, our employers are actually asking more of us as well in terms of always being contactable. We don't have as much time. Technology is apparently designed to make us be faster, better, smarter. What it actually means is we have significantly less time to ourselves. And also, we're bombarded with messages. So I don't know about you, but I get messages from clients through WhatsApp, text, Skype, Messenger, which I thought was a no-no, SMS, Slack. I mean, it's never ending, and still email. And somebody asked us a few weeks ago, do you still take faxes? So also, content can be very difficult to access. People don't know where it is. The marketeers may not necessarily know where it is, where the IT guys can go straight to it, and vice versa. And also this thing that we were talking about, I think Tomasz was talking about before in terms of rewarding engagement. Essentially, this slide means, what's in it for me? Okay, I know I've got to do my cybersecurity training. Well, actually, what's in it for me other than ticking that box, other than saying, yes, okay, yes, boss, I have done it this year? I want some emotional engagement. I want to have the appropriate training for me. I want it to be personalised. And this is where we developed our platform, and it's being applied in cybersecurity. It's about compelling content. We rarely generate that content. We don't want to generate that content. But it's about making that content compelling, and I think that's a theme that's gone through both days. But it's about this value exchange, and this is where game science, as we call it, comes into play. It's that value exchange. I'll do something for you, you do something for me, and that's where this PBL comes into play often. What we're saying is you need to create the dopamine, and it's interesting you used that word, Philip, as well. It's about sharing the love. I want you to feel really excited about doing your cybersecurity training, not maybe about the content, but the fact that you are going to have enjoyed engaging with that, and hopefully you're then going to come back to it and implement that training. That's the key thing. So, Standard Chartered Bank, okay? Does everybody know Standard Chartered Bank? Or who supports football in this room? Does anyone support Liverpool? Good. Oh, that's good. I like to see very few supporting Liverpool. I support Everton. But Liverpool are sponsored by Standard Chartered Bank, one of the largest global banks. They said, okay, this is great. We've got we're not allowed to use the word challenge or problem, so you might edit that out of the video, Pete, please. But Standard Chartered have a couple of issues, okay, around cybersecurity. Considerations. There you go. Thank you, Will. What's really interesting is they recognise they've got lots of different teams that they need to be engaging. They've got the employees, their exec team needs to engage as much as their main employees need to engage. And at the bottom, on this bottom line, This is all the things that Standard Chartered already has in place. Okay? They have 3 or 4 existing learning management platforms. Just let that sink in. 3 or 4 existing learning management platforms. We're not looking to replace any of that. But the issue comes back to, as I said, how do they access the content? Who's the content for? Is it working for marketing? Is it working for retail banking? Is it working for security? They run workshops and courses. They do lots and lots of outbound communications, lots of push messaging. Read rates aren't very good. We're not allowed to share those, but they're not that great. They already have some games and simulations, but one of the big problems is that nobody's accessing them. They don't know where they are, and it's one size fits all again. So this is where we came in, and this is why we're not a learning platform. This isn't a sales pitch. This is purely what they were asking us to do. So we have a content portal. So through personalization, through finding out who the employee actually is, what department they sit in, which country they sit in, so you can have somebody in retail banking in India talking to somebody in retail banking in Singapore and in London and Morocco. You can access the content that has been it's pertinent to you using engagement mechanics that you want, that work for your team and that work for you personally. You've got the points and rewards. So again, somebody was talking about leaderboards, and I completely agree. There's nothing worse. Believe it or not, I know you'll find this very hard to believe. I am a runner. Not very often, but I do run. And this whole thing around leaderboards, I completely agree. I don't use those because I'm always down at the bottom. But what we do here is you have leaderboards where you are grouped by department, or grouped by team, or grouped by country of your choice. So you can choose which leaderboards you want to participate in, with the idea being then that actually you may have a chance of being near the top, maybe catching some zombies, who knows. And then this thing around reporting and KPIs. So we essentially, the platform that we run is the glue that binds it all together, and it gives that what's in it for me, it gives that real meaning and actual real value. Oh, not moving. So there you go. So Standard Chartered Bank wanted to link the synapses. I don't know how many of you are parents, but when your babies are first born, you're told it's all about linking these synapses, creating synapses, making connections in the brain. So your first few years as a parent, you focus purely, in theory, when you get sleep, on generating those links, getting people engaged, the babies engaged and thinking. They want to create the dopamine. They want people to feel good. They want them to feel, actually, I'm quite happy about this. It's not a chore. It's something I need to do, but there's something in it for me. They want to actually make people happy and share the love, as I said, about cybersecurity training, which is not really a phrase you'll hear that often. So what do they use? They've used competition and leaderboards. So that natural, intrinsic human desire to compete against team members. Does anybody here play Candy Crush? Excellent, there's a few of you. Well, we'll share notes later. But that competition and leaderboard doesn't work in Candy Crush. But progress does, yeah? So you want to make progress. So whereas there's natural desire to compete, you also want to be moving along, but you want to be seen to be moving along. You want badges, and they also have levels as well, which all sounds, I know some people here are probably going, oh, God, I heard it all before. But this is part of an overall experience that they're rolling out to all members of the bank. So these are slides, actually, that Standard Chartered put together, which when I was asked to talk, I thought, great, so less work for me. But this is what they have put internally. So they're talking about, again, this value exchange, but it trains, it incentivizes, and assesses their journeys. It's about ongoing. It's not a one-off. Again, as Juliette was saying, you've got to keep going back to it. You've got to keep people engaged. You can't just do it as a one-off exercise. The bank will have a fortnight every year where everybody has to complete training, but they need you to be engaged with that training on an ongoing basis. They started out by taking more of a marketing approach. So they looked at the different personas within the bank and looked at who was actually going to be using this. And then they did this journey. How do I get started? How do I do this? What do I do? And then at the very end was this level 5 advocacy. So they're using the power of employees to encourage other employees to get engaged. You're not going to do that if you're not making people feel good about that, about themselves or the training. So they created, this is all with our help, but they created an immersive UX. What does that mean? That means actually they got people to think, what would I enjoy? How would I engage with this? What would make it work for me? Using humor, using animations, using scenarios. So again, a bit of gaming coming all into here. It's not this standard push, boring motivation. They also integrate all the digital into face-to-face as well. So they're using physical, actual human interaction by doing roadshows. They've used podcasts as well, and they're taking this program out to all the different branches of the bank globally. Sadly, we're not allowed to go with them, which is a bit of a shame. And they've combined, these are two core elements, digital and face-to-face, and the two form the one, which is really interesting. This is not about escape rooms or about online board games. This is about blending the two things, this human interaction with digital human interaction. So the what's in it for me, there's going to be something in here that's going to work for me. These are some of the game mechanics that they've used, and some we've developed, some that they've already got in place. So they've got, for example, this secure code warrior. This is recognizing that the developers in the bank have very different cybersecurity requirements than the retail bankers or the pension specialists. So they developed a code warrior game. The battle against cyber villains is a quiz which says, how cyber safe are you? And it asks you questions depending on your answer. You are a percentage cyber safe at the end of it. So then you have an option. Do you want to be more cyber safe? Less cyber safe? It's not exactly catchy. Or are you happy with your cyber safety level? Depending on your answer, you can then carry on do more training or more engagement. And then they did a simulation around threats as well. So different things that are appealing to different people within different departments and different locations. The big thing here, I won't spend too long on this one, is the storytelling and gamification. Again, what they've done with every department in the bank, they've got them engaged to say, what have you already got? What's working? What's not working? So going back to Adrian's point this morning around the storytelling, that was as important for them as the actual output and the functionality. So this, if this works, is a video, but this is a short video, I promise, of what it actually looks like. And there are some key elements on this which will be pointed out. So this top left-hand corner is the points that you've actually got so far. So this is where PBL in action, guys. This is what we call a progress journey. So this is showing you where you're going. And then we've got a range of different functionalities. So hopefully this will play, talking you through the points, showing you the progress journey at different levels. And you can see that actually you start as a rookie, but you very quickly progress. This is your badges, your stamps, but this is about telling you what you've got, how you can get them, the different badges you can actually get, the different awards you can get for different engagement, and it's personalised to each individual team. So if you are in retail banking, I keep banging on about retail banking, you would have different content there to pensions. This then is your profile, and this is an interesting bit. So this is a bank, a really boring, dry financial institution. This is information that we've received from the bank in terms of actually who they are, but it's going to be supplemented in a minute by an avatar. So they didn't want to use actual photographs for their own internal purposes, but they want you to have an avatar. Again, this is your digital personality. So lots of quizzes in here, but you are just building up not just the pure transactional, but also the emotional engagement. I'm going to finish this because actually it's a bit stuff you've already seen probably. The key thing really is around benefits and results, because all of this is no good unless it's actually being implemented. So again, following on the theme from lots of people today, you actually have to be implementing this. So e-learning is fine and an engagement is fine, but what does it actually mean? It should be creating those synapses, creating the love, that kind of really dopamine release, which says, oh, I remember that, even if it's subconsciously remember that. What does remembering that mean? It means implementing that. What does implementing mean? It means actually not doing things like clicking on a phishing email 3 times. That's the biggest problem in the bank. People clicking on phishing emails, not just doing it once, not just doing it twice, but doing it 3 times, okay? So how are they going to measure this? So they need to look at emerging threats faster. They need to be capturing the full life cycle of this is the internet cybersecurity across all the various touch points. They want to look at this targeted content, and they want to be inspiring other people. All I can tell you at the moment, or we're allowed to share, is that all those things have been done. However, we also recently did some work with a big bank in Australia who were using very similar methods, using our same software, not for cybersecurity, but actually for digital transformation. And these employees all have to use, they have to do a fortnight of training, or they're given 2 weeks in which to complete their training, okay? And normally, in excess of 80% of employees are completing their training in the last 2 days because it's a bit boring, what should I do? When they used our software and some of these methods and mechanics, 83% of all employees were completing their training in the first 3 days. Because it's a bank, you're not allowed to take your devices home. So it has to be completed within the bank's time, okay? But the bank said, that's fine, we'll give you time to do it, that's okay. Most of these people were completing it in the first 3 days, including in their lunchtime and staying late, so they could complete the training. So that's pretty impressive, right? Really interesting training around digital transformation and, again, anti-money laundering. What that actually means, though, is that the bank has seen significant impact in terms of their staff engaging with customers at till and advising them on which digital products to move to. So much so that the bank has apparently seen an increase in their profitability as more of their customers are moving online. And they're moving online because those customers have been informed by retail staff who've engaged with the training and implemented it and are continuing to implement it. So I hope that makes sense. A bit of a corporate world case study. And it's not Lego.
No. Thanks, Rachel. Big applause.